So yes, we're doing this term, we're doing the mindfulness of breathing as our meditation practice that we're going to focus on. Probably meditation that probably predates even the Buddha. So very, very old meditation. So what is the purpose of the mindfulness of breathing? Well, in a way, what's the purpose of mindfulness generally? Because those two things are very much connected together. But one of the goals, if we like to use that terminology, of mindfulness of breathing is to become concentrated, or I prefer to say absorbed, because I think concentrated gives too much of an idea of a sort of mental concentration, which isn't what we're after. And in order to become concentrated, we need to get beyond what's stopping us becoming concentrated. So what stops us becoming concentrated? Well, these are generally referred to as the hindrances. The five hindrances are on the traditional list. So if we're not, when we sit down to meditate, becoming easily absorbed into just being with the breath or just being with our experience, then there's probably a hindrance going on of one kind or another. So these hindrances, the traditional list, are craving, ill will, restlessness and anxiety, sloth and torpor, and doubt and indecision. Make a lovely package. And yes, and traditionally there are also antidotes to work with those hindrances in meditation. Those antidotes could be categorized, if you like, into, well, I think 3 different approaches. So the first thing to do is to notice if we are in a hindrance, and to just acknowledge that that's the case. So if we sit to meditate and we focus in on the breath, focusing in the body, and we can't seem to stay with it, then it's just worth asking the question, is there a hindrance present? And trying to identify what that hindrance is. So one of the ways that we can identify it is just to see what's happening with our body and mind. So the mind might be having particular kinds of thoughts. So if we're just sort of wandering around, maybe thinking of things in the future, thinking of things that are not here now, thinking of pleasant experiences, then we're probably in the hindrance of craving. If the mind is wandering around, but it's going to thoughts generally of the past, it's interesting this, that craving tends to be thoughts towards the future, and aversion tends to be thoughts towards the past. If the mind is wandering around in aversive thoughts, so this, things like going over a conversation that was hurtful, classic one that we can get into, or it might be directed towards ourselves, in some way caught in some feeling of shame or judgment about ourselves, is the hindrance of aversion. And then you've got these 2 hindrances that are more kind of on an energetic spectrum, although in a way they're all on an energetic spectrum. I'm going to speak about that in a moment. So the mind might be racing in one way or another. So it might be going to what I've got to do next, what I've forgotten to do. And this is restlessness and anxiety appearing. Or it might go the other way, and we just sort of dip out of our experience by going into sloth and torpor. And there's a general sense of sort of sinking in the body. The mind just sort of started to close down. So there's probably not much thought going on with sloth and torpor. And the other one is doubt and indecision, where basically we can't really sort of get going with the meditation because we're just sort of going around doubting ourselves, doubting whether it's worth meditating, etc., or questioning what we're doing. So yes, we can find the hindrance from those sort of flavors that they might have. But we can also find the hindrance in a more kind of energetic way, which I tend to quite like. So, as I said, with craving, we tend to be reaching out into the future. So we tend to be reaching in front of ourselves for something that we hope is out there that we can bring here that's going to make this experience here better or right. And energetically, that can feel like we're traveling out sort of in front of ourselves. So if we think of ourselves sort of here as being the center, and there's craving going on, there's a pull towards the front, just energetically sort of going forwards. With aversion, the opposite's the case. So there's something in our experience that we're trying to push away from, something hurtful, something, So we're trying to push away from our experience. So energetically, that can feel like sort of going backwards like that, out of the body, as it were. So that is like on that axis, you've got craving pulling forwards and aversion pushing back. And then on a vertical axis, you've got restlessness and anxiety. So with restlessness and anxiety, I'm sure we're all familiar with this, the energy tends to be right up in the head. So lots of busy thoughts, lots of mental disturbance. And the energy's traveled up in us. And then conversely, sloth and torpor, the energy is going down. So it's like we're sinking down in our body. And in order to get away from our current experience, we are trying to go to sleep, basically. So there's something, we don't want to be here, we don't want to be with this experience, and sleep comes in. So it might be that we're genuinely tired, of course, that can also happen, but the way you can usually tell is that you feel the sloth and torpor whilst the meditation's going on, and when the meditation ends and it's a chance to get up and get a cup of tea or whatever, or get away from it, energy comes back and is available. So yeah, we can feel our way into any hindrances that might be going on energetically as well. And I would say, he's been mentioning about, it's always a way of getting away from our current experience. There's usually something in our experience that we don't want to be with. Something, that feels unresolved in our experience. Like something in a relationship. Something unresolved in our own psyches. And it's quite important to find whatever that thing is. So one of the difficulties that can be with working with the hindrances is that we apply an antidote, but we don't apply it on a deep enough level. And the hindrance continues to come back. So this is why it's important to, really arrive before we do the meditation as well, in the body, in awareness, so that there can be some measure of awareness there to kind of meet whatever is arising in our experience. So when we do the meditation today, I think we did this last week, we'll start with this idea about what doesn't want to be here, present at this moment, and try and find whatever that is. It may be, of course, that we're quite happy to be here, in which case, the meditation, it'll be reasonably easy to stay on the object of the meditation, the breath in this case. So yeah, we'll start by looking at what it is that doesn't want to be here and see if we can find if there is anything that doesn't want to be here. And just acknowledge it, just becoming conscious of what doesn't want to be here. That may be enough. So I mentioned these sort of like three basic approaches. The first approach to the hindrances is acknowledgement. Just acknowledging what's here. And that can be enough just to let go of it. It's a bit like we give it a bit of attention. It gets the attention that it wants and craves, and then it's happy and it stays happy, and we can carry on into the meditation. But sometimes, it needs a bit more effort to deal with whatever doesn't want to be here, and it's like we have to go and meet it at a deeper level in ourselves in order for it to let go. And then sometimes, it can be a really persistent hindrance, and we might need to do something like cultivating an opposite quality that will help to counteract whatever it is that's going on in us. Anyway, we'll carry on exploring this over the next few weeks and talking about it more. But for now, it's probably plenty of information. But the best way, of course, to come to that information is just to look for it in our own experience and meditate with it. So that's what we'll do now. So we've got this next half an hour, 40 minutes or so to work with our minds through meditation. So resolving to use this opportunity as best we can. And to benefit ourselves through the meditation practice. So arriving here and now. Noticing where the locus of our attention is, whether it's up around the head or whether it's in the body. Usually it's up in the head area, where we're used to spending so much of our time in the thinking mind. Consciously deciding to unhook from thinking and to come into the body. So we'll work our way down through the body to the lower abdomen. So this is our direct awareness of the body as the body. So not our mental idea of the body, but the direct awareness of sensation. So we can start in the head and face, being aware of the sensations in the head and face. Sensations around the eyes, the lips, the jaw, the back of the head. Wherever we notice sensation, notice as we do this, already the thinking mind starts to slow down. Attention is drawn away from it into the sensate body. And staying with sensations, coming down to the neck and throat area. Looking for the sensations that are there. Bearing in mind that some areas of the body, the sensations are not so clear. Other areas, they're more clear. So the sensations may be more subtle in different parts of the body. Down to the upper chest. The area around the heart. Staying with the direct awareness of sensation in the body. Bottom of the rib cage. There doesn't seem to be much going on in a particular part of the body. We can imagine ourselves breathing directly into that area of the body. And it can help to focus attention and bring that area of the body alive. Going down to the lower abdomen. And from the lower abdomen, taking in the body as a whole. And staying with direct sensate experience, noticing all those sensations in some way connected with the breath. Sensations to do with the rise and fall of the abdomen, expansion and contraction of the chest. Sensations around the upper lip and the nose. Without straining to do it, allowing those sensations to expand in our experience. Allowing the sensations associated with the breath to fill more of our experience. So it's as much about letting go into the breath as it is trying to focus on the breath. So maybe and we are able to sustain focus and interest and absorption with the breathing. Or it may be that the attention is wandering away from the breathing. And if attention is wandering away, then we are going into one of the hindrances. It's fine. Going into the hindrances. It's what the mind does. So there's no sense of anything being wrong with that. Maybe enough just to notice ourselves having wandered away from the breath and come back to the body, to sensation of the breathing, to regain our focus. If we are continually moving away from breath, we're unable to settle on it. It's a stronger form of the hindrance is there. It can take us some time to find out what that is. Using the energetic method we talked about before, where is the energy going? Is it pulling forward? Is it pushing away from the center? Are we energetically going upwards into the head? Or are we sinking? Is there a sense of sinking down to sloth and torpor? Or is it, as it were, going round in circles, energetically, with doubt and indecision? If we can get a sense of that energetic pulling forwards, pushing back, going up, going down, or circling, can we bring ourselves back to a still center, as it were, drawing that energy back in to the center. Get a sense of that energetic movement having stilled and resting in the center. We can come back to the breath, looking for the breath in the body. The hindrance is persisting. It can be helpful to take a deeper look at it. Is there something that doesn't want to be here? If so, get a sense of what it is that doesn't want to be here. We can also do this in a bodily, energetic way. So rather than going to thought, which will pull us out of the meditation, you feel into what doesn't want to be here. Feeling in with a warm, loving attention. Tending to that part that doesn't want to be here. Feel we've attended to whatever it is. Coming back to the breath. And the sensations of the body. Relaxing into the breath. Breath to fill our experience.
So we'll have a break for 5 minutes, and then those of us who can, or wish to, will come back and have a conversation.